Am I good? Am I center? You want to do an intro?
I'll do an intro. Hey, my name is Tracy, and I've been living in Cabarete since 2010.
And I'm Mario Fama, RD, aka Yo soy blanco, pero no soy banco. But today I have a different hat on. Broker owner, Crest Group Dominicana, here in Sosúa, Cabarete.
So I just wanted to do this video to introduce the world to Tracy, the real estate agent. I am brand new to this. We are in the new office of Crest Group Dominicana in the North Coast here in Sosúa. And what's the name of this plaza?
Plaza Colonial.
It's beautiful here in Sosúa. So imagine that.
Right next to Banco Popular.
Yeah.
Not the other one they put you on the highway, but this one right here.
Yeah, so we're in like this cute little plaza. We'd love to see you guys down here. Find it on the map and come visit us. We're planning to spend a lot of time here. I wanted to talk today, since I'm a new real estate agent, there's lots of things that I am finding out along the way. The big thing that I have been finding out is lots of real estate companies are apparently not doing much due diligence.
Correct.
Before they upload a listing.
Correct.
The way that I found this out is, as you may or may not know, here in the Dominican Republic, there are not really, let's just say, laws, regulations, standards, so anybody can be a real estate agent, right? One of our unique selling points here at the Crest Group is we have a partner who happens to be an attorney. So we do not have to outsource or pay an attorney to do our due diligence for us.
Because it can get costly if you have to do it every single time. Or some companies should, if they don't have an attorney in-house, obviously that's unique to us, then you should have a retainer with an attorney so they can do your due diligence. It comes out to a lot more, it's more affordable, it comes out to a lot cheaper than to having to pay every single time you get a listing, every time you have to review a piece of paper that's a document, listing agreements and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes you have to edit them a little bit for different properties, and then you want to make sure that you're legally compliant with that. So definitely, if a brokerage does not have an in-house attorney, they should have an attorney on payroll that reviews their paperwork. And that's something I think that they're going to implement in the future when the licensing does hit here. I know they've been talking about that, where they're making agents more responsible for what they're doing instead of just saying, oh, I don't know.
Yeah. So I wanted to enter the real estate industry, and I wanted to do things differently than what I have seen. And I just really wanted to be real and honest. And like I've been saying, no bulto, which means like no BS in like Dominican Spanish. And that's why I teamed up with Mario, because I thought that he was going to be on the same page as me. And I have found out that he is exactly on the same page as me. And I'm really thankful to have him as a mentor. He's been a really great leader. And I'm really proud of what you're doing, because like I said, I have found, because anybody can upload a listing, I am going behind many other realtors and finding that the owners of properties do not even know how to provide their title, their ID. They don't know what an EP is.
Yep.
They don't know what Confotur is. And so that means to me, if they have already listed their property with another real estate agent and they don't know that they have to provide these things to a real estate agency who wants to list and upload their property to sell it to clients, that somebody along the way hasn't been doing their due diligence.
Exactly, and that's when you see problems. You guys hear about it all the time. Oh, I was going to buy this property, but there was an issue with the title, or the person that was selling it wasn't the person who owns the property. We don't do that because we know that's a huge problem in this country. So our job is to do our best, to do due diligence, and there's even more that can be done. Let's say if a buyer wants to pay, for example, and want to do a title search, we can do that as well. But we do our basic due diligence to make sure that, okay, is the title look clean and clear? Yes. Is the person listing it with us the person who owns the property? Yes. What are the taxes? The EP on it, and just all these kind of things that a lot of people just don't do. Most brokers here, as you've learned, they're just like, oh, you want to sell? Okay, sign right here. Some don't even sign paperwork. Some of them don't even have listing agreements.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I have been finding, is that if I've asked some people for their EP, can you explain what an EP is, by the way?
Sure. So an EP is like a form that they give you basically to make it simple. It's what the DGII, what they value your property at. Now, why is that important? Okay, when it's a new property, we know it's the first time that it's being sold, the contract or whatever the sales price was in pre-construction, that's going to be the EP. But there are cases, I'll give you an example. There are places in a certain complex where at one point the property was going for $650,000, sold for $650,000. So they have it registered at $650,000. Now the market in that area shifted over the last X amount of years. So now they're going to sell that apartment for $450,000 or $500,000 or house or whatever. Now you buy the house for 500 and you figure that, okay, I'm going to pay over the like 170, whatever it is, it varies every year. I'm going to pay the 1% tax on the 500. No, you have to pay the 1% tax as if the place was worth 650 because that was the last register. So they can up your value of your property, but to try to get it devalued here with impuestos internos, forget it. You know, they've been talking about in this one community where they got to get like all the owners and they have to hire lawyers and go, you know, it's very important to know because the sales price that you're buying it for might not be the price that they have it registered at. And you might be like, oh, wow, I bought it for 300, so I don't really have to pay that much tax. At one point, this thing traded hands, or they evaluated it at 500,000-600,000. Now, next thing you know, you're paying an extra 1% on the 100,000-200,000, whatever it is, and you didn't know that, and then you bought it, and now you get stuck with that.
Right, because when we buy a property or when we present a property to somebody, we want to know all the costs involved, and we want to be able to explain that to our clients, right? Because that's our job. So it's important that we know what the value is before we start selling something to a client.
And that's a permanent fee you're paying. It's not like, oh, I thought it was, I have to pay for a transfer $1,000 and it's $2,000. Okay, that's a one-time mistake. But when the EP's there, so, you know, sometimes somebody might have bought a property here on La Mulata and they loved it. They bought it when it was first built for like 400 and now they're going to sell it for 250, 300
right.
because not that many people want to be in La Mulata 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in La Loma, you know?
Right.
And then you're like, oh no, what's going on? I didn't know that. And that's a permanent thing you have to pay. So it's super important that we look at the EP of the property, we look at the titles, front and back, we make sure the titles are clear, and that the people who are listing the property, both people, because people don't know, if there's a couple selling a property and they're both on it, they both have to sign.
Right.
Because the husband can sign and then you get an offer, you come to me and you're like, oh, Mary, I want to buy that property. Yay. And then we put in an offer and the husband's like, yay. And the wife is like, nay.
Exactly.
I'm not selling this.
This is one of the things that we're also looking for in our due diligence. So when we ask you to send us, when we ask a person who is listing their property with us, we ask them for the title. We review the title to see whose names are on it. We see if it has a passport number or a cedula number on it. And then we ask for the corresponding IDs, whether it's the passport or the cedula.
And in the case where it's under an SRL, because sometimes people do put properties under a business, then we're like, okay, who owns the SRL? Then we look at their paperwork as well to make sure that everything is kosher before we put it out on the market.
Exactly. So the last thing I would like to talk about, because these are just the things, we asked for 3 basic things before we list a property. And like, listen, 3 things. These are easy things that everybody should be able to get, right? Because we're asking for 3 things that just make us feel comfortable that we can actually list this property and sell it with confidence to our clients.
Correct.
So kind of what goes along with the EP, which by the way, EP is short for like IPI, or in English it would be IPI.
Correct.
And we're just saying EP. Yeah, because we're just saying IP. We're just saying in Spanish EP because that's how you would pronounce it in Spanish. But what kind of goes along with the EP is the Confotur. So can you explain that, please?
Sure. Confotur is a program that they have here in beach area. So you have to be in a designated beach area. You're not going to get Confotur in Santo Domingo. You're not going to get in Santiago. And usually when you're dealing with beach areas, like if you're here in Sosúa, you'll get it on the beach side. Very rare, or if ever, that you'll get it on the other side. I'm not sure. Yeah, you'll know better than I do here. But also, like in Punta Cana, most of the Confoturs you're going to see are going to be on the right side of the highway, on the Bávaro side. Once in a while, yes, they will have it like in places like Vista Cana or other places or whatever. But in general, what do you call it? Confotur is when a property is designated as basically a tourist investment. Right. It's made for
rental property.
It's made for investors from abroad to come and buy tourism properties that are for tourists, basically. That's why you won't see it in non-tourist area. It has to be specially designated. Now, the developers, when they file for Confotur, they get all these tax benefits. They get to import stuff tax-free, the materials and everything like that. So they get that. What it means for you, translated to you, right?
Exactly.
It means that you don't pay the 3% transfer tax. When you buy a property in the Dominican Republic, there's a 3% transfer tax. And you don't pay the 1% annual tax. Now, your first, it's like 170,000. The numbers in pesos, and it varies based on the exchange rate. And every year it goes up a little bit. But your first, like let's say it's 170, 71,000, whatever, is tax-free in the Dominican Republic. So if you have 2 properties and there's 300,000, your first 170 and your first one is tax-free, then the remainder of that plus the new one, you pay the 1% on that. So let's just say you bought a $200,000 property right now, right? it's your first property in the Dominican Republic. Your first 170,000, 71, whatever, is tax-free. You're paying on that other 2930, 1% of that you're paying. So when it's Confotur, 15 years, you don't pay that tax, and you don't pay the 3% transfer tax, which in a $200,000 property would have been $6,000. So you save $6,000 in whatever you buy. Now, if you're buying a property, obviously that's below that amount, you're only saving the 3%.
Right.
Then if it ever, during the 15 years, I guess if it goes up, you're still under that, you know?
Right. And then the other thing about the Confotur, so it's good for 15 years, just to make that clear. It's only good directly from the developer. So it's not good on like a resale. So
Correct.
if the first person who bought from the developer gets the Confotur and then they sell it to you as like the second person buying this Confotur property, it doesn't transfer to you.
Correct. What happens, and sometimes sellers don't know, they're like, oh, I got Confotur.
Right.
I'm like, did you put it under a company's name? They're like, no, it's under my name. No, you can't transfer it. It's non-transferable when it's under an individual's name. Now, if you bought a property, you put it under an SRL, and now when you sell the property, you sell the SRL, then yes, you are transferring over the, the Confotur, because the person is buying the property, but they're buying the SRL that already has the Confotur. So it's almost like you're buying the person that has it, right? The entity that has it.
So this would be one of the benefits of putting a property that has Confotur in a business name, because then it could be like a selling point to sell it to somebody else that it's under Confotur for the next 15 years.
It can be, though. Again, from my experience.
Okay.
If you're thinking about putting a property, if you own multiple properties, that's one thing. If you have one property, maybe two, and you're thinking of putting them under a company name, I strongly, strongly advise, don't listen to us, the real estate agents. Listen to your accountant here in the country and listen to your attorney and sit down with them in private and find out if this is the best course of action. Because though it does give you protection in case you get sued or certain things, it's not ideal for anyone. And I don't want to go too much into that because I'm one of the lawyers and the accountants. One thing I've learned, because I'm licensed in New York City and I've been doing this for 31 years, I very much divide what I do here. A lot of times when I'm like, well, look, I know the answer to this, I think I do, but I'd rather you speak to this person because your case might be a little bit different. I always refer it to the people I need to go to. And if you're thinking of putting it in, a lot of attorneys do not recommend that you put it under an SRL for various reasons, especially if you have just like one. Obviously, if you have a portfolio, then that's different. If you have businesses and now you're buying another property or properties and you could get sued for this, for that.
But just for the tax break, it might not be worth it. So ask your accountant and ask your attorney.
100% all the time.
And I would suggest also, just since we're talking about attorneys, we're going to wrap this up because we don't want this to be too long and confuse people. But just while we're talking about attorneys, we do have an in-house attorney.
Correct.
We are doing our due diligence, so you can trust that our listings are good, because if they're on our website and we're giving them to you, that means we have done our due diligence with our partner who is our attorney. But I don't know about you. I'm just going to say this. You can tell me if I'm wrong. I would always suggest that you have somebody on your side. Right? Like if you're buying a property, of course we have our attorney, right?
So what we do, so I'll explain. Obviously, we recommend our attorney in-house as well. We're a law firm as well as a real estate company, but if you're not using our law firm, I would be sad if you don't. But if you don't have to. Obviously, you should never be forced to use anyone's attorney. I've seen this. Now you bring this up.
This is what I mean. It's like, don't be forced so that it's working.
And I've seen this. I've seen sellers. I've seen sellers over the years where they're like, yeah, well, I'll take his offer if he uses my attorney.
Exactly. I've seen that too, which is why I was mentioning it.
No.
Especially here on the North Coast. I don't know in Punta
They do it everywhere. They want, and I'm like, no, you can't force somebody to use your attorney. Now, if you want to use our attorney in-house, that's great, because a lot of the properties that we have, we've already done the due diligence, so it'll be smoother for you. And as well, we have a little bit more control, because the reason I started the law firm was because I saw so many attorneys like not doing good work, and then people used attorneys but still came out bad. So I was like, okay, what can I do? Well, start a law firm to help people. That was the whole point of it, like that. But if you're not going to use an attorney. I'm from New York, and I know in the United States, different states have different rules and laws where real estate agents do the contract. I don't believe in that. I'm from New York, where you should always have an attorney. You should always have someone, because I can't tell you how many times I've had a resale, and then all of a sudden something pops up, and they're like, oh, but I didn't know this, but I didn't do that, but I didn't sign to this. Or people buy pre-construction, and they're like, well, I didn't know that was in my contract, and nobody explained to me that this is what that meant. To save money, you end up losing a lot of money. What's cheap ends up being. If you're gonna buy a $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 property, you should be able to spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000. It's usually 1%. That's a fair rate for an attorney when you're purchasing. Do not get cheap on the 1%. Do not go with your friends, cousins, brothers, uncles, cats, dog, lawyers. That's gonna. No, I know my friend.
Go with somebody who has a name, right?
Exactly, and somebody who has skin in the game.
Right.
Because there are a lot of attorneys, right, that they'll, you know how it is here. They'll be like, yeah, whatever, my friend. And then all of a sudden you can't find them and that's it.
Exactly.
Somebody who is a staple in the community. There are plenty of attorneys in all these areas that are staples in the community. Everybody knows them. These people are not running away from you. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
They're going to be there to
they
deal with.
have a name.
Exactly.
People know where to find them. They're, they're listed.
And now that we're talking about attorneys, one more thing, which is really, really important, which I always advise against. There are attorneys. So when you're purchasing, it's 1% usually the standard. There are people who charge more. That's up to them. A fair rate is 1%, right? So 1% to represent the buyer. Now, there are attorneys out there that are going to say, okay, give me 500, give me 750, depending on your properties or whatever, right? And we'll get the contracts done and everything. And then when we close later on, you give me the rest.
Yeah, give me the rest, but don't say what the rest is, right?
No, not just that.
Oh,
so what
okay.
happens is there are people here, they're lawyers, and I've had this happen to me. I had a lawyer, the guy spoke English, super cool, everything, whatever, and left me out to dry at one point. This was before I had my law firm. And this is, again, my motivation to open up my own in-house law firm. And they get people to sign up. They're like, yeah, the contract's good. Come here, no problem. All right, give me $500. Give me $750, blah, 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 and they sign. And now, okay, you sign the contract. Okay, but now the process continues, right?
Right.
Disappear.
Yeah.
They don't call back. They don't answer. They don't do any of that. So now you paid that initial money. They left you hanging on the contract.
Yeah.
If you bought something pre-developed, pre-construction, right? Development pre-construction. Now you're with the contract. Now, if you have an issue that is getting delivered late, then they change the kitchen on you. They want to ask you for more money. They're in construction or whatever the case is.
And then you can't find your representation and you're kind of
here's how the things are here. Well, my lawyer's not getting back to me. Well, what did you pay them for? Well, I paid him to sign the contract and everything. So you didn't pay him for so he does. You see the slickness, how it is here?
Yeah.
You don't even have any recourse on it because you didn't pay him for the whole.
Right.
If I pay somebody for the whole process and now they disappear on me, I can go to the Lawyers Guild or whatever, all this stuff and complain or whatever. But I paid him to sign the contract. Okay. And now if he doesn't call you back afterward, okay, that's on you.
So just make that clear, and then just make sure that you know that you
don't.
wanna...
If a lawyer only wants you, in my personal opinion, it's my opinion, and from what I've seen in my experience here, almost 7 years doing real estate here, if a lawyer only wants to charge you for partial work, don't work like that, because all the prominent attorneys that I know don't work like that. That's like bucones. Dame algo, ya, te voy a resolver eso ahora. No.
Yeah.
It's like, look, this is what I charge. I'm a professional. This is my fee. This is the same thing at real estate companies. We tell you what our commission is. We're like, all right, give me a little bit over here. And then when he gives you something, give me over here. I don't work like that.
No.
So they don't work. Professional attorneys do not work like that.
Okay, good. So we have covered basically what we provide as far as our due diligence. We've explained that we have an in-house attorney who works for us, which makes it easy for us to do our paperwork and to do our due diligence. And every property that you get from us that we are giving to you or we're presenting to you in any way, we have done our due diligence. So you can feel comfortable talking to us about that particular project.
Because we do not list every property. We
Right.
actually, there are properties that we will say, I'm sorry, but this is not in order, or we're not seeing these funds here,
Right.
we're not seeing what's supposed to be here, and we just don't take on that property because we don't feel like it's a property that we want to represent to our buyers.
Right. Good. Well, that was just something that I discovered in my process of being a newbie real estate agent. And I really just wanted to put that out there for the people who are following me, because like I said, I think my unique selling proposition is that I'm going to try to keep it real, no bulto. That's why I joined along with Mario, because he's also mucho no bulto. And we're looking forward to sending you some properties, no bulto, no BS.
And with us, you'll see us here in the community. That's another difference. The reason we care about our clients and we want to make sure you get the best experience as a buyer, because you're going to see us here. You're going to see us in the supermarket. You're going to see us at her kiteboarding school. You're going to see us at the restaurants. You're going to see it at the bar. You're going to see us everywhere here. So at the end of the day, we want you to be happy. I don't want you to be, Mario, Tracy, what you doing? No. I want you to be like, dude, I'm loving it. Woo!
Yeah, exactly. That's what I want too. So anyways, in the end, I don't want to fluff your balls, as I always say, but I'm super thankful for everything that you're teaching me and all the discoveries that I'm making here in the real estate world. And I'm really thankful that you are such a great mentor. And I'm really thankful that you gave me the opportunity to work with you.
I'm glad that you came on board. So let's rock and roll. And guys, welcome home.
That was so good.
Crushed it.
I hope it's like recording.
Oh, that shit better. Oh, don't do it. Don't do this to me.